which breaks democracy down almost like state by state in America. So now there is local government all over Kenya. People are excited about the local structures, the accountability, the access, and so that is the new energy that's pulsating in Kenya right now.
So how does that integrate or connect with traditional leadership? In Ghana, I witnessed both the civil court that was modeled after the European court system, the colonial court system, but we were also taken to traditional courts in Kumasi, and these systems were tribal, familial, and historical, and they had real power, but there was a line between what the local traditional leaders could do and decide versus what the civil court could do and decide. They would tell us that when they were resolving a dispute between, say, neighbors or family members over land or respect or title or whatever, that in the old days, once the decision was given, they'd take somebody out to the courtyard and that would be it. Life ended, problem solved. But that is not the case, fortunately, right now. But here's the transition again. How do you find the value of engagement that the old system allowed and afforded, that was built on, and move that into the modern society? How do you do that?
Well, many parts of Africa still have traditional courts or chiefs. They have systems where people sit down and converse. One of those variations was called the Gacaca court in Rwanda. After the initial genocide and the push for everyone to be tried, but since the judiciary and the lawyers had been killed, it was impossible to try the offenders. They remained in prison, and finally the solution that the people found effective was dividing up the city almost into precincts like we have here, and just for 5 square blocks having the community appoint people that they knew within that 5 blocks of good reputation and integrity to sit for all the crimes that occurred within their 5 blocks and have those offenders come in public in open sessions, open air sessions, confess their crimes and receive either amnesty or a pardon depending on the type of offense that was committed and whether or not they were honest. And so that kind of village approach worked very well to resolve some of the lingering huge backlog of cases in Rwanda. In Malawi, the village chiefs have gone through training with the court system so that they can work alongside the court system and also help enforce laws. For example, we had a village woman who was trained in that system report a young woman for we call infanticide. This young woman was married, the man left her, she had 4 children, she was pregnant with child number 5, and so she buried that child number 5 in the garden. So this woman in the village saw that she was pregnant and now she wasn't anymore and there was no baby. And so she was able to report to the authorities and they were able to find this child, and the woman was prosecuted and went to prison. So they can blend systems when there's a political will and training.
At the end of the day, it's about empowering ordinary people at neighborhood, house-to-house level to have equity, ownership of the concept of justice and the systems for delivery. And what role then do African Americans have, can we have, in supporting the development of democracy, of the rule of law in African nations? Is there a role for us at all or not? Or is this simply an African thing and we're Americans? Or is there some special relationship between African Americans and Africans that ought to be brought into service?
Well, we come from Africa.
Yes.
And Ghana, as you mentioned, is a great case in point. Martin Luther King was in Ghana. Du Bois was a consultant in Ghana. Anybody that we look historically on the cutting edge of African rights in America was in Ghana,
Yeah.
coaching,
Sure.
supporting,
Sure.
cheering, consulting, helping to write their constitution. So we were all present with that first democratic country. And so that presence and that connection of being able to bring the dignity and freedom that we take for granted and have to keep fighting for is something that we must continue to support. I always say that as long as any country in Africa is on its knees, we won't have the respect in America that we should. And so we do have a responsibility as Africans in the diaspora to help any country in Africa that needs assistance.
And is there the sense that those countries appreciate, value, seek, and will engage our assistance if we are able to provide it? What are your thoughts?
Yes, we went to Rwanda, and as you know, when we're talking 20 years on, the Rwandan genocide also was 20 years ago. And many of us tried to find a way that we could be of assistance during that 20 years ago period.